So good afternoon. Thanks for being back after those speeches. I'm French, living in Belgium. I used to live in Germany. And so for me, my point of view on Poland, which I visited already, but it's not a territory I know particularly well. I'm working right now a lot with Arab countries, so it's really the South Mediterranean. But I would just like to give you the general opinion of people like me working on the market and, okay, what we think about Poland. So we think it's big. We think it's a big country. It's a big cinematography. It's also, everybody knows, you know, well, especially because I'm French, but it's not only that. The Watch Film School, this, I don't know whether the pronunciation is okay, Watch, yeah. Roman Polanski, Andrzej Wajda. It's films we grew up with, and so this is Poland. And we also know that since the last 10 years, more or less, you have a very active Polish film fund. And in our opinion, because the Western Europe now, the financing situation is not that great. Germany is still doing well. In France, it's more and more difficult. So for us, even if we know that there is less money at the Polish Film Fund than at the CNC, for example, it's still seen as a proactive national film funding. And apparently you also have some regional film funding, but very, very small. But okay, that can always help. And you also have new films on the market. The most recent one is Ida. And it's also, it's Polish cinema back to the European screens. That film is doing pretty well. And it's really, I would say that it's the essence of Polish cinema seen from abroad. You know, it's pretty different from the films done by your other young filmmaker. She's Szumowska, yeah, which looks more European in a way, or French also, obviously. But I guess that Ida was really a big and great and nice surprise for the European audience, and so this is also what we would have in mind right now. So there will be expectations concerning you, producers, authors, directors coming from Poland. And a first thing, we discussed it this morning a bit when we were speaking about the pitch, is that if you want to go on the international market with a project, we will expect you to have some financing in place. If you don't, because we will expect the Polish Film Fund to be on board. You may not have access to it. There may be very good reasons for it, a special filmmaker. But then you have to know that if you are out on the international market with a Polish film without any national or regional support, you have to explain why. So this is the first thing. The second thing, just generally speaking, is what is a market? Actually, a film market is a place where films are sold and bought, and it is possible to do so at almost any stage of the film, except for your film, your project being just an idea. In that case, if you are Jean-Luc Godard, you know he's famous for never have written a script in his life, which may be true, but except if you have really big, big names, you have to, if you want to go on the international market, once again, the national market is something different, but you need to have a solid project, you need to have a package, and you need to have the contract in order with your author. This is really something pretty important. You cannot go out of your country with a very, very nice project, and it's a young director and very, very nice author, and at the end of the day, you have risen some interest, but you forgot about the contract. You don't have anything, not even sheet of paper, memorandum of understanding. So this is something really you have to think about it to start with, because if not, it's just you've burned your project, and afterwards when you will meet with the people that you saw already for that project, and perhaps this time you understood the lesson and everything is in order, but you will need to prove it, I mean, because they won't trust you anymore. So this is really something important. It may be different if you're working on your national level because people know you perhaps better. I mean, it can be different. But if you want to go out of your national territory, really, you need to check all the legal sides of your project before going out. So this is really something, this is really some basics about what you have to do before you decide to go to the international market. Then, it is a market, so it's a bit like you go shopping for your vegetables. There are some rules, but it's what you expect from a salad. For example, you want it to be fresh. Okay, so don't hope to go to Cannes or Berlin with a film that's perhaps still inédit because it's been released only in Poland, but it's 2 years old. It will not work. Everybody will look at you there. And then what you also like is to perhaps have something special. It's like your salad, perhaps you prefer it to be organic. So yeah, it would be, your film has to have some special taste. But this is what Lena was explaining also this morning. Even if it was specific on documentaries, this will be the same for any genre of film. So the sellers on this film market, well, it's you, because I guess you're mainly producers, or, yeah? Mm-hmm.
Distributors as well, and regional funds.
Okay, so the sellers are the producers, the catalog owners, the studios, if they do exist, and the sales agent. Those are the sellers. To give you an idea, I don't know who did already visit Cannes or Berlin or Clermont-Ferrand, or, yeah, a lot of you. So the sellers are the one having a booth in Berlin, and in Cannes, booth or apartments on the Croisette. Those are the sellers. The buyers are, once again, the sales agents, because, well, we'll speak a lot about sales agents because it's pretty important if you speak about market and film festivals. The sales agents are a right collector, so they will buy the rights from you, and they will represent your film and sell it further. Obviously, to have rights to sell, they need to buy it at a certain point. This is why you will always have sales agents both on the buyers and on the seller's side. Then further buyers, obviously distributors, and distributors are mainly called domestic or regional buyers, because generally speaking, a distributor will buy, for example, here for the Polish territory, and you have some possibility for regional buyers. Generally speaking, buyers buy for what we call Benelux, so for example, Belgium, Netherlands, and the Luxembourg. Regional buyers do also exist for the Middle East, but most of the time, it's really domestic market. Sales agents, once again, as buyers, they will buy for the whole world, except your domestic territory, for you, Poland, where usually before you go on the international market and before you are looking for a sales agent, you already have, what do you need?
Distributor.
A local distributor. Bravo. And then other buyers that are new on the market are the VOD and the SVOD, subscription VOD platforms, and also the aggregators. So this is all the new trends of distribution now, VOD on demand, subscription VOD on demand. It's starting to generate revenue. It's, for continental Europe, it's still really tiny, but it's now more for the UK. And it's now a kind of a stable source of revenue for the US. So actually the trend, because this is generally speaking how it works, should reach Europe and create more market opportunities, which is a very good news for you as producers. Television stations, obviously, are also buyers. And a last category, which is considered as buyers, for example, if you look at the buyers list from the big film markets, are festival programmers. So they are not really buyers because you will not have a sales contract with them, but obviously they give exposure to your film further to the market or the festival where it is presented. And now, it's not new, but it's also growing bigger. Festival fees have become significant sources of revenues because on the market, the way it is right now, it is quite clearly an audience-driven market. It is not anymore an author-driven market. Those golden years have passed away. And so sometimes you can have a film that will be quite successful on the festival circuit. But unfortunately, even if it sells to different territories, it will not succeed reaching the audience in all those territories. So at the end of the day, what you will still have as a producer will be the festival fees. And sometimes, depends on the festivals, depends on the tour, obviously, but sometimes it can be good money. Obviously, your main reason for attending markets, well, but this is also my point of view, is really that you need to have a project. But you can also decide that at one point, you have produced 2-3 films. You don't have a project that would be fit for any international market, and you just want to go to Cannes or to Berlin, just to establish yourself and your company on the international market. And then I would say that it's pretty possible. The only thing is that I would really not recommend you to go, for example, to Cannes just for this sheer reason that, okay, you want to see the world. I mean, if you want to do that, you have to find a filter to find the right entrance door for you. And there are lots of them, but I guess I will come back to it later on. And a last thing I wanted to say before we go more into details is that apart from that legal side I was mentioning before, you also have to be prepared and to know what is the market, meaning what are the big trends. Because, for example, when we were speaking about documentary this morning, I thought, okay, Nick Fraser was mentioned 3 times. And I was thinking, yes, true, he's always there with Storyville, but when I started some 20 years ago or more, I think he was already there, which is quite okay. He's a great commissioning editor, but you have to also understand that this is the situation in the big public television stations in Europe. It is true that you will have the same commissioning editors being still in charge, and actually now you will see that those people slowly are retiring, and so a new generation is coming. But it is true that on the television market, and mainly on the documentary market, you have a certain stability, which is absolutely not true if you consider the fiction market, and especially if you consider all the world of those buyers. And this for a very simple reason. It's because of the crisis of so the end of the 2000s, and especially 2010-11. Lots of sales agents had to whether close down or fire people because they could not have so many people on the payroll. And actually what happened is that most of those people that were fired, what they did create their companies. I tried to do a kind of a typology of the markets for you because actually, for example, when we were speaking about the pitch presentation this morning, so this is something working for documentary only, you will not have really pitch presentation of a fiction project in co-production market. It will be something more intimate, I would say, meaning that it will be, so the buyer will be in front, and Joanna is the author or the director, and I'm the producer, and it will look more like a nice conversation. Obviously, the information you will need to deliver will be the same. But okay, it's a bit less like standing up and launching. And it also means that as you don't have any screen to show your trailer, you have to have it on a tablet, any kind of iPad, but okay, you will have it already. About the markets. So I would, I did, yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I have 6 possible types of market. The first one, the one you know all, is what I would call the established multitasks markets. With that, I mean Cannes, obviously, Berlin and the European film market, the American film market, and the television market like MIP-TV, MIPCOM, NATP. And here I should also mention Toronto, because Toronto, even if they're smart enough to always pretend they are only an international film festival, actually it is not true. The industry office in Toronto is really working like Cannes or Berlin or the American film market. When I say that they are multitask, I mean that you can show finished films, but you can also sell projects. Even if Cannes has no co-production market, they have the producers network, they have the producers workshop, they have now the documentary corner. I guess that all of you know the short film corner. So actually, it is also a place where you can find partners for your project, even if you're looking only for development money, for example. In Berlin, it's a bit clear. I would say the European film market is the market for selling finished film. You have the big co-production market for projects. 30% of the financing has to be in place, and over 1 million euro for budget. And then you have the Berlinale Talents. This is the new name for the talent campus. And now you even have the new thing, the Berlinale Residency. So, okay, it's a wide range. AFM, it's really mostly for finished films, but they have a wide range of conferences where you can meet lots of, well, mostly US people. The European film industry does not go to the American film market anymore, too expensive and also too close to Toronto. Then I have a category I call newcomers. For example, if you are looking for French co-producers, there is a new place called Les Arcs Co-Production Village. I don't know whether you heard about it already. It's taking place in winter, I guess it's December, just before Christmas, and it's in a ski station in the Alps. So it's a kind of a French Sundance, if, well, smaller, but okay.
With lots of French producers who ski.
Yeah, and a very good, it's an interesting place to watch because, so it's a film festival, and the programmer of that film festival is Frédéric Boyer, who used to do La Quinzaine. So actually, it's a very good selection, and it's also a good project selection, and it's projects from all over the world. Obviously, as it is in France, yeah, this is the place you should go if you are looking mainly for French co-producers. Another newcomer, even if it's not that new anymore, is the Rome Film Festival together with the Business Street and the New Cinema Network. So the New Cinema Network is a co-production market, but only for second films. So it's something a bit special. Business Street, as the name says it, it's around the Via Veneto, very nice place to be in. They're always October or November, and depends on the availability of the venue. It's a good place to meet with European sales agents. You will not find, or almost no American there, but for meeting European sales agents, it's a good place to be. The problem is it's pretty expensive. And I would say too expensive for what you can really find there. And then you have places like the Film Art in Hong Kong, if you are interested in the Asian market. And strange enough, Venice is now back as a market. You know, the Venice Film Festival, very famous one of the oldest, or the oldest in Europe.
The oldest one.
The oldest in Europe. So there used to be a market, but it was really down, and now they have a new director since 3 years, and is really adding activities every year. And this year, for example, they are launching a special co-production market, but it's only for gap financing.
For gap financing, right?
Yeah.
So it's when you're just missing some money.
Missing the last 20%. More or less. Then you have what I call co-production markets and events. So the most famous one and the oldest one in Europe is the Cinemart in Rotterdam. So together with the big film festival in Rotterdam, a big audience film festival, a bit like Berlin. You have San Sebastian, which is recommendable mainly if you are looking for partners in the Spanish-speaking area, whether Spain in Europe or Latin America. They have a big Europe, Latin America co-production forum for 3 years now. And then you have a good co-production market in Thessaloniki. It's called Crossroads, but it's mainly for projects that would have a hook with the Mediterranean. Okay, I will not go through the whole, but okay, those are no markets, but really only co-production market. And then you have all the national and regional events. So here, unfortunately, you don't have any real co-production event in Poland, and I guess the closest place for you to go is Cottbus in Germany, with the COCO, the connecting Cottbus, and actually it's focusing on Central and Eastern Europe. But you have lots of other places like the Baltic event in Tallinn, the Cinelink in Sarajevo, the Sofia meetings in Sofia, the Moscow Business Square, Scientist, and so there used to be an event here in Warsaw in connection with Moscow, but it's over now.
Yes. But we have Wrocław Polish Days, and we have this industry screenings.
But so, for example, the industry screenings or the Polish Days in Wrocław, it's more like what you call national event. It can be quite interesting because the buyers that will come there, it means that really they want things from you guys. They are coming specially to pick up new films from Poland. It is not a market situation or a co-production market situation. And then you have all the specialized markets. So I will not say a word about documentary because Lena was speaking about it this morning, but you have Sunny Side of the Dog, hot dogs, etc., etc. you have, for short films, the most well-known markets is Clermont-Ferrand, but you have other smaller ones in Europe. For cross-media, I guess that the most famous is still Power to the Pixel, but now they're expanding and they're not only in UK anymore. They have kind of satellites event, at least in Germany, and I guess they also have something in France. One of the newest co-production market is for genre film. It's a new event called Frontières. They had one edition. It's working in collaboration between North America and especially Canada and Europe. And so last year there was one edition was during the big animation film festival in Montreal, Anima Film, I think, yeah. And the big fantasy and horror film festival taking place every year in Brussels. And actually, so it's a very, well, it's genre, it's special. And just the last thing about a last type of market, this is all the virtual markets. So all of you know Cinando? Yes. I hope that all of you have an access code. You can see on Cinando that, okay, this is something that does exist for a long time now, is that sales agents can put their films on Cinando. Then you will need a special authorization to be able to see it. But now you also have the possibility with the documentary corner to upload your documentary film. For that you only need to have the accreditation to the Cannes Film Market. And you do that obviously before the market. And during the market, you have a special booth called the Documentary Corner with lots of activities, but also this is also a place where you can meet buyers that will have seen your film. You are receiving the screening reports from Cinando, so it's really a great organization. It doesn't cost you anything. You don't have to do any special marketing because Cinando is doing it for you. And it's existing for 3 years now. And since last year, I really think it's working. So it's not the main thing, obviously, but for documentaries, it can really be a great help. So another thing you may know is Festival Scope. So it's after lunch, huh? You're all sleepy. Festival Scope is, as the name says it quite clearly, it's an online platform having agreements with lots of film festivals, a bit really everywhere, not only in Europe, small, big ones, mainly smaller ones, I have to say. And it's also a nice way to have films seen out of their festival exposure for buyers. You also have all the, it's not markets, but lots of sales agents now have their own screening platforms for buyers. So you have now really lots of opportunities to have an online exposure for your films further to that offered by the traditional markets or festivals. With all that, I mean, it's a lot of possible opportunities, and the question is for you to know why, when, and where you should attend. Why? The question is very easy to answer. We spoke about it already. So whether you have a project or a film where you need to sell it further or need to find co-producers, co-financiers, whatever, if your film is finished, you are looking for a sales agent, or you want to establish yourself and your company. These are the main reasons for you to attend. If you want to just go out and establish yourself with a more international profile, so once again, don't go alone. Try to use all the available tools. One is very easy. It is the Creative Europe Media Program. They are organizing umbrellas on 4 markets per year, so 2 film markets, Berlin and Cannes, and the 2 TV markets, MIP TV, MIPCOM.
Catherine, can you say a bit more about what umbrella stand is?
Yeah.
Because some of us might not know.
So umbrella stand means that it is a big space rented by a company working for the media program, and they're installing everything just for European producers like you to attend. And it is not selective. It is on the basis of first come, first serve. So your media desk is surely giving the information when is the deadline. I guess the next opportunity now will be the MIPCOM. Yeah, because Cannes is over. And you have a deadline, you have a there is a form to be filled in online.
Yes, you need to submit a company profile and names of people who are going to attend.
Voila. And that's it. And once you are accepted, so first you will have all the general services, like there will be somebody taking messages for you if you are around in meetings, but you will also have additional services, especially during the MIP TV and the MIPCOM. In Cannes and Berlin, on the film market, it's more like, okay, you have a stand with the nice terrace in Cannes, you have a free bar, you have the hostesses taking messages, but this is it. For the TV market, there are more services like there is an advisory services, you have experts that are there to just have meetings with you. For example, there is a legal expert to speak about your contract. I mean, there are all kinds of services that are a bit on the top of it. We discussed it already. You need to have some project in the pipe. I think it's also better if you already have finished 1 or 2 films, because if not, I don't know. It's always, if you have a good reason that, okay, this is your first project, you never produced anything, your company exists for 6 months, but there is a good reason for you to be in Cannes, why not, you know? I mean, why not? Personally, I have no problems with that, but yeah, I guess that it would be better to have some track record before deciding to go out. This is a bit like when we heard the pitch this morning, where it was clearly the last one about the
brothers,
war guys,
soldiers.
the brothers. Yeah, it's clearly it was too early to pitch. So yeah, there is always a momentum, but this is something that you have to know better, because anything you will do, attending markets or producing this or this film, you have to have a strategy. Mm-hmm. So actually, yeah, as long as you have your strategy and it makes sense, you can decide to just start your career coming to Cannes or Berlin. Why not?
It works sometimes.
Yes, sometimes, yeah.
But if not Cannes and not Berlin, what would be first choices for a newcomer with a project attached, let's say?
With a project, I guess that I would always choose to go to a regional co-production market to start with, for a very simple reason. So first, it will be less cost, but second, the buyers that, for example, do decide to go whether to Cottbus or to Sarajevo, it means that they have a specific interest in films coming from that region. And there will also be more available for you because, so the question also with the co-production markets, more specifically, is that you want to be selected, so you will apply. Generally speaking, it is quite difficult to really be selected because there are more and more competition. So if you're not selected, obviously you will try to attend as an observer, or you will go there anyhow, but then you will find, if you go to Cottbus, for example, you will find sales agents that will be more willing to hear from you because in a way or another they came to Cottbus especially to hear about new projects coming from Eastern and Central Europe. So this is really, it's really what makes sense. And I would also choose to go more to a thematic event if you have the right project for it. So for example, if you have a documentary project, I would try to go to the sunny side, or I would try to go to a thematic event. Mm-hmm. But it all just makes sense, I guess. This is really, another thing is also, if you have a very arty, cutting edge project with a very visual, atmospheric director, I would try the Cinemart in Rotterdam. This is also, this you also have to, but what you need to do, because it's also very easy, you go on their website and you check the list of selected projects, just to have an idea about what they like and what they are looking for. Because it's always the same thing when you want to be selected by a co-production market, or you want to convince a producer or a financier to come on board, you have to know what they want, so that what you will have to offer them will be the most adapted to what they want. It's really back to that situation. People buy, people sell. This is what also, I guess this is also perhaps a mental preparation. You have to be ready to play that game. You also have to make sure that your author, director is also ready to play that game. It's also pretty important because you can have, because as there are no real pitch situation, those conversations, it's true that if an author start to say that no, this is absolutely not what he or she intends to do, then it will be even more embarrassing than in a pitch situation. Because in a pitch situation, it's those 5-7 minutes, okay, you can cut and try to arrange it backstage. In a co-production market, I mean, really, it will be more difficult. So this is also a point you have to settle before you go out with your project. But this is all part of the preparation you have to do. And I guess this is more of the psychological preparation, or more on the content side, because obviously you also have the more formal preparation to do. But this is really perhaps the most important point, is to be sure about what you have to offer, and the whole team has to agree on what you want to do with that project. For fiction, I guess it's a bit more complicated because on one hand you want to have the selling points first, but you also need to tell the story. So generally speaking, in your package you will have two synopses. One will be the selling synopsis, and the other one will be the story synopsis. Story synopsis should be 2 pages maximum. The selling synopsis, so should not be the story. You can start with the log line, but then it is everything you want to put forward for that project. So it can be the talent, the cast, the location, the music, whatever. This should be in the selling synopsis, and it should be really maximum 1 page. If it can be half a page, it's better, so that you can have a visual selling synopsis, story synopsis. Then it's short introduction about the director. Is it first time or not? Pretty important. And then the range of the budget and what you're looking for. So this is the package for a, and then the trailer or the teaser, depends how you want, you have to show it on a tablet or send it with a link afterwards. Depends on the time you will have with the person you meet. The question when you are meeting with people on co-production markets or on markets, generally speaking, it's a big difference with the pitch situation where you're pitching, you only have 7 minutes, but generally speaking, the panels around the commissioning editors, they're supposed to be there for 2-3 hours. So actually, in co-production market situation, the buyer in front of you or the co-producer may have only 5 or 10 minutes for you. So it's pretty important to be ready to send all the material and especially a link to the trailer or any visual you would have afterwards, because you won't, most of the time, you won't have time to show it in good conditions. In my opinion, the easiest way to focus is to focus on territories, because generally speaking, you will have a small idea about which territory you are looking for, whether France or Germany, so it is a first filter. And the second thing is, for example, if you're looking for a sales agent, then I would say that it is pretty easygoing because there are not so many of them, and you can filter, but there again, you have to focus even more. You will not send in the same email to every sales agent attending the Berlin film market, which means that you have to go to their website and you will check their lineup. Then you will see that Film Boutique or the co-production office or the Match Factory are doing more films that look like what you have than White Bunch or Portobello. You know, I mean, it is. It's just the problem is that it's lots of homework, but you really have to. The person who receives that email has to feel you want this person in general.
So now when we've done all that, we go to the market, we have a meeting with a sales agent.
Yeah, I guess this will be also the transition between markets and festivals. Because quite frankly, if your film is selected to a film festival, especially to an A film festival, and if you're all alone, you will feel quite miserable. And really the people that will help you will be the sales agents. So the first thing, so sales agents, first thing, if you have a first-time director and yourself are pretty young in the business, don't try to approach any sales agents before you have a rough cut, because they will never enter at a script stage if they don't know the director and if the director is not pretty established. So this is the first rule. The second rule is never try to approach a sales agent in big markets and festivals like Cannes or Berlin. For two simple reasons. They may be too busy with the titles they will have in the festival. Second, sales agents, as I explained before, their business is to sell films to distributors, VODs, TVs, airlines, whatever, and also to acquire new titles from you guys. On big markets and festivals, actually, if the company is big enough, there will be nobody working on acquisitions. They will be busy only selling stuff. So actually, the acquisition person, the one you want to meet, will not be there or will be too busy only selling. So the best places for you to meet quietly with sales agents are surely co-production markets. Situation where they come because they are ready to look at new projects. So this is the first thing, and it will avoid you losing time and the sales agents too. So never try Berlin or Cannes. Second thing, you have established big sales agents, so the best example now and the most successful now in Europe is certainly White Bunch. But you also have, or companies like the Match Factory, or, well, or the French one, but you also have smaller, younger sales agents, and you should never hesitate to go to those ones, because they're young, you are young too, and it can be the start of a very nice story. Because if you also look, it's always interesting to go through the history of those companies, and if you look at it, you will see that some sales agents are following directors and producers since the start of their career, which is always a good thing, because you feel comfortable if you have a first business relation, if everything's going smoothly. It will certainly be a relief for you to know that for your next project, and obviously if that next project fits with the editorial and commercial line of the sales agent company, you will be able to rely on having a sales agent on board, I would say, as soon as possible. So this is just to make you understand that even if you have a good relationship, you should always check each contract, and this is based on what you have. Each project is different from another. Sometimes you can also you're not lucky because some films are missed by film festivals. It's not that they are very, very good films. Okay, they will not do it on the festivals for many different reasons. Then it doesn't mean that those films cannot sell. And it's also important for you, and I know that most of you are young producers, and I know, because I remember the old times, that the first idea is just to get your film financed. This is what, because it's difficult, and also if you're aiming at co-productions, I mean, it's pretty difficult, and this is what you want. You want to get your film financed, or let's say, to be realistic nowadays, because, well, okay, situation has changed a bit, but you want to get at least 80% of the financing. Okay. If you have a sales agent on board while you are looking for financing, it will surely help this for raising more financing. But if you stay after the film is completed alone as a producer, and perhaps with a national distributor, or at least I hope so, I mean, the problem is that you will have financed your film, or at least I hope so again, but you have no way to create revenues out of that film. And this is what you are looking for, or this is what you should be looking for, not only financing your film, but creating revenues out of any film you are trying to finance. And this is where, except if you would be a person with particular talents for selling, which is possible. Some producer can do both, but it's pretty difficult, and in that case, I would suggest that you create a special branch in your company. Don't try to mix everything. But this is also why most of the time you will need to work with somebody specializing in selling films around. And those persons, they will ask, so perhaps, I don't know what your experience with contracts, but something you have to know is that when you sign a contract with a sales agency, it will be a far longer term than what you generally sign with television. So generally speaking, they will take the rights for 20 years. It may go to 25 years. This is more or less the length of the exploitations of rights, and it will certainly never be less than 10 or 15 years. So don't be afraid if you see that this is totally normal, even if it seems a bit longer. The second thing also is, even if you get a sales agent on board during production, which is great, most of the time you will not get any minimum guarantee anymore. This is over. It's only still working for very big films and established authors. But anyhow, even if you don't get any financing, or I mean direct financing during the production, it is still very good to have a sales agent on board. You can put it in your package, and it will raise more confidence in other possible investors. But I heard that apparently there is a sales company now here in Poland. I don't know whether the person is there.
No, Janek is not here.
Because I think this is really great news for you. And I don't know exactly whether they're specializing in, well, I have no details, but this is something that's badly missing in Europe, is that if you look at the map of the European sales companies, you will see that most of them are in France. You now have more and more in Germany. You have a lot in UK, but except for Portobello, or I mean, they are not doing that many non-English speaking films, this is quite clear. And except for that, in Spain, I think there's still one or two, but okay. And obviously you have big ones in Scandinavia, but they're also doing mostly Nordic films. So I think that really we are badly missing more sales company that would work more on a regional level, and I guess it's really great news that you have somebody starting here. Another thing about the mix between being a sales agent and a producer, it does happen in, I would say that 50% more or less of the sales agents that are active in Europe do also co-production. Most of the time, and here I'm speaking mainly for France and Germany, what they can bring to you is post. It's not really access to, for example, the CNC, but post-production, it's pretty easygoing because there are special support. For example, in France, as soon as you are doing part of your post in the Ile-de-France, so this is the Paris region, it's a kind of, not totally automatic, but okay. There is a support that's quite easy to gain, and you have the same kind of support in most of the regional film funds in Germany. So this is what sales agents can bring you the most easily. This is post-production, and it makes sense because anyhow, the stage where you will be able to show something most of the time will be a rough cut, and most of the time it will be the time where you are stuck and you need some more to finish the film. And to go back to the contract, so usual commission right now for sales agents is 30%. And don't misunderstand that this commission is on the revenue once the sales and marketing expenses has been reimbursed to the sales agent.
And how big are these costs?
Generally speaking, in the contract, you will put a ceiling, 80,000. Well, I'm speaking about fiction. Huh? 80,000 for marketing, and generally speaking, also, if your film is not the kind of film that will go directly to Cannes or Berlin in official selection, there will be a special article in the contract saying that, okay, the marketing expenses are up to 80,000, and this does not include the selection of the film. And generally, you have Cannes, Berlin, Venice, sometimes
Toronto.
Locarno, which means that if the film, if you're lucky enough, and the film is selected, then there will be an addendum to the contract. What can you do more? So the thing about sales agent is that when you sign the contract, everything's good and everybody's happy. Depending when you sign it, but most of the time, between the time of the signature and the time of delivery, it can be 1 year, or, I mean, here you have to be quite careful about the mutual information, because if anything changes between the signature and if the delivery, when it comes, is not correct according to what's mentioned in the contract with sales agents have very long annexes about all the formats of the delivery. Well, so there it will be, if there is any change and no information before, it will be a breach. Especially because it's quite very easy going for the sales agent, because obviously they're betting on a project. They don't know exactly what, even if it's a rough, well, if at the end of the day you are 2 weeks late for delivery and you haven't sent anything, and if the film is finally no, not really what they thought it would have been, then you will be out without any sales agent and with the completed films, and then it's no good news. So this is really something pretty important. It's also very important for all co-production contracts. This is also one of the main reasons for going to court. It is because there's been some misinformation between the partners. But I would say, generally speaking, during a co-production, it's never nice to have contracts problems. But generally speaking, something you can change partners, you can find. If you're really kind of finishing the film and you're already exhausted and it's been 4 years in your life, you've been so happy you had a sales agent and all of a sudden nothing more, then really this is something I would not like to face, and I think you would not like to. So this is really the most important thing. Apart from that, contracts with sales agents are pretty simple, and it's not that long as a co-production contract. And most of the time, so you always need to have it checked by your legal advisor, but you will not have, so once again, except if you are a big name and so on, so you will not have so many possibilities to negotiate. Change it a lot, yeah. If you're starting in your career, anyhow, it's really a great step to be able to sign a sales contract. So, and also something, don't try to retain rights. You have sometimes producers for, I don't know why, no, they do not want to give the rights for Asia, for example. Let's say it's a European film. So you know the way it works. You will always keep the rights of the co-production countries, and the sales agents will get the rights for what we call the rest of the world. For some special project where there is some special hook to the Asian market, then it can make sense to retain the rights and split it, meaning that you will have a European sales agent for part of the rights, and you will try to work with an Asian sales agent because you think there is a special potential in Asia. Asia is not a very easygoing market, so sometimes it's worth. But except for such special cases, really it's better to give all the rights to somebody specialized. And in the contracts, there is also a special formula. There are rights that you will always retain, in the opposite, which remake, merchandising. It's also in the remake merchandise, I don't remember the rest, but okay.
Sequel, probably.
Yes, everything connected more or less to production, actually. Yeah. So this is basic things about sales agents. And so once again, sales agents, if you have one on board, will also be totally instrumental for the festival career of your film. First, because part of their job is to know most of the festival programmers, which you don't do. I mean, or perhaps you know some, but okay. And it will help a lot because, so back to the marketing expenses, if you have to face alone the cost of a presence in a film festival, and I'm not even speaking about A film festivals, I'm just speaking about, okay, the normal festival like, yeah, let's take Leipzig for documentary, or, you know, just the basic thing. Actually, it's much more than you can imagine, because most of the time, and except, but no, without exception, festival used to be far more generous, for example, in invitation, because once you have a film invited and it's your first projection, it's a premiere, and you have the team, and obviously the whole team would like to attend, and obviously you think it's legitimate. And everybody will be happy, but the festival will pay for a maximum of 3 people. And you will, yes, but Cannes, Berlin, it's 3, yeah. Yeah, you will have to face all those expenses, and actually, with the sales agents, you will still have to face it, but part of other expenses that you would be in charge without a sales agent will just accumulate. So at the end of the day, it's really huge amounts. And once again, it's back to revenues. You need to really save money till the end, because you need to pay everybody correctly. You need, I mean, so this is really a question, once again, of revenues. Film festival, very basic thing. This is a place where films are shown in a proper way. Meaning that for you right now, for example, it is important to check what are the technical capacities of the festivals you're working with, because even if it's more and more rare, you still have film festivals who are still not totally digitized. Because the whole digital revolution, the one we were waiting for such a long time, actually it came between 4 festivals, and I'm meaning 4 festivals and market. It came between 2009 and 2010. So it's quite recent. It's obviously all the big film festivals have adapted without problems, or still with lots of problems with showing DCPs. Okay, it's not very easy, but okay, more or less, actually, the technical equipment is upgraded, but for smaller film festivals, it's not always the case. So you always need to check that, and it's very easy to check because it's in all the technical requirement for the submission of your film. So this is quite easy to check. So a film festival, you know what it is. This is what you're dreaming of. This is a specialist. Actually, you have one here in Poland because Warsaw is still on the A film festival list. if you want to check everything about film festival A, film festival regulations, etc., you go to the website of the controller of the film festival. It is called the FIAPF, FIAPF.org. And actually, this is the International Federation of Producers Association. So they're also dealing with legal copyright and that kind of stuff. But for historical reason, they're also in charge of controlling festivals worldwide. And this is also the FIAP that gives that mention A film festival. So I guess you know why it is important for you to attend. This is the best way to get exposure for your film, and this is also the best way to get established yourself as a director or as a producer. It's important for your film to be selected for its further life, whether on the festival circuit or to any general audience. And now the question is, how is it possible to be selected? You have different ways you can submit your film. First, obviously, you have to be more or less sure that the film you have will be more or less convenient to the festival you are aiming at. This is the first thing. You have to be on time, especially if you are newcomers. So for that, again, you have lots of websites that are giving you all the dates of all possible film festivals and also with the submission deadlines. There are lots of them. Personally, I like that of the German association Aggregators. If you go on that website, you will see festival deadlines, and it's done per month. It's worldwide, and you have the dates of the film festival, and you also have the deadline for submission. It's pretty well done. So to send the film, once you have focused on your dream film festival, then we can discuss which one. But okay, you will have the deadlines, and you will have all the procedure to what to do, etc., etc. Most of them. Well, it depends. But most of the time now you will be proposed to upload. And it will be in a secure environment. So this is the normal procedure. Sometimes there are fees to be paid. If you're brand new and you don't know anybody, I would suggest that you don't ask for waiving the fees and that you just pay. No, because it's also... okay. For the first time, you just pay it, but, and then, perhaps, later on, you can beg for waiving that. But I would recommend you to do it perhaps otherwise, because for bigger film festivals, of course, they have what they call delegates. You know what it is, and I guess that you can tell me who is your delegate for the Berlinale, because he's one of the most well-known persons in Europe. Come on. Exactly. Bravo. Nikitin, who's actually also organizing a nice training, but not for producers, and is doing it during the Wrocław Film Festival. SOFA, yeah. So Nikitin is the delegate for Russia and all Central and Eastern Europe. So he's really your guy, and he really likes it, and he's really passionate. And I have to say that if you look at the history, the recent years of the Berlinale, you will see that each year there is one film from Russia. There is, I mean, he's really very, very active. So this is one possibility. Obviously, this will not work that easily with Cannes, because they also have delegates, but it's not working the same way. Cannes will also rely to a whole professional network. So, I mean, it's so, for Cannes, I would recommend to try to contact Cannes through somebody you may know, perhaps not directly, but okay, somebody you have access, perhaps a Polish director who already had a film in one of the sections, and try to go up that way. But here, once again, the person that will help you is the sales agent. Because the sales agent first, he or she knows pretty well the different characteristics of the different film festivals, and generally speaking, has access to, perhaps not to Thierry Frémaux directly for Cannes, or Carlo for Locarno, but at least to somebody in the staff that will help. And then, yeah, you still have another possibility, but I would say this is really the last chance thing, and you feel a bit desperate, and you take a subscription to a website like Without a Box. But it can be, because the nice thing with Without a Box is that it will be very systematic. So actually, if you feel you have a festival film, this is another thing, obviously. If you have, so once again, comedy, very commercial film, go to your national film festivals without any problems. But don't try Venice or Locarno, or even, because comedy film festivals, it doesn't exist. You have for romance, somebody was speaking about romance this morning. So you have one possibility with a nice film festival in Belgium, le Festival du Film d'Amour, Love Film Festival, taking place on the Valentine's Day each year, but not bad, with some buyers attending regularly, because it's just after the first days of Berlin. So it's close to Berlin, but it's still doable. So actually, you have, there will be a festival for any type of film, for sure. But obviously for you, and as far as business is concerned, you're focusing about whether the specialized film festivals, if it's documentaries, you will prefer ITFA, for sure. But if you're in Leipzig, or here, for example, you have a pretty good documentary film festival, Planet Plus. Yeah, I've never been myself, but I have friends of mine that are buyers. They come here because they can pick up films, even if there is no industry event. And obviously, Jihlava, how do you call that? Jihlava, yeah. Which is also a place where buyers go, but Jihlava, you say? Jihlava. They also have some industry events.
I also have to mention Krakow, of course.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. You're from Krakow? Yes. This is it's a wonderful city. I've been twice or three times in Krakow, but only my second time in Warsaw. So, but when you mean the festival, and shorts. And the Dragon Forum is together with that
part
festival.
Of it, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I was seeing Krakow in my mind. No, so I was with documentaries. For short films, you don't have so many that are really rewarding. So I would not say the best one, but I would say the biggest one is Clermont-Ferrand, with the advantage that there is a market. And if not, you have Oberhausen, Tampere. There is another one in Germany. It's Oberhausen, Tampere in Finland. And you have lots of smaller, for example, for short films, smaller film festivals, for example, in Italy, that can be quite good, like Sedicorto, yeah. So it can be an alternative. Obviously, the awards will be smaller, but because the festivals are also very useful for your film, even if you will not get any award, and even, well, whatever happens, is for creating the buzz. Because the festival itself will communicate about your film. You will have perhaps some review. This is, and the another thing, and perhaps I will end on that, is apart from revenues and what festival can bring, I guess that now, because of all the new distribution channels, I guess that for you as young producers, it is also really worth looking perhaps further than film festivals, or looking at the film festivals online. Like, you know, for example, there is now a very successful film festival called myfrenchfilmfestivalonline.com.
That's in the presentation.
It does exist. I think it started in 2010, so it must be the 4th edition. It's really working like a film festival. I mean, it's not online all year long. It's online for 2 weeks. And what's smart is that it's focusing on French people living abroad. Because obviously, even if French films are kind of broadly released everywhere, sometimes we cannot see it in original version, or okay. And it's working. So it's also new ways of showing your films, perhaps ways of reaching an audience, because I think there are also Polish people everywhere in the world, and perhaps they would be happy to see Polish films in the mypolishfilmfestivalonline.com. But obviously, more broadly, what's for sure is that in the next 5 years, all the possible surveys really converge to say that VOD and SVOD will really create revenues for the producers. And I think that together with crowdfunding has, you can also do crowdfunding for distribution. I forgot to mention it. It does also exist, but it's more to, for example, to finance a national release. But I guess that all that together is full of hope for you. And the last thing I wanted to say is also that festivals and market, obviously, it's also for fun. Because it's quite nice to find your friends again and see people that you perhaps see only once a year when it's in Berlin or in Cannes or wherever. And I guess this is also what's make us all here. And I wish you very good festivals and markets for the rest of the year.
Okay, Catherine Buresi, thank you very much for being with us.